My name is Olalekan Oshunkoya. Welcome to Impact Doc, the conversation. I'm glad to host this conversation this afternoon. I have with me in the studio two very important special guests, entrepreneurs, impact leaders, change makers, people who are actually making change happen in different ways. And today, this afternoon, we're going to be having a very short conversation about how technology entrepreneurship is making change happen and can be used as a leverage for national development. So I will allow, as it is with my usual style, I'd like my guests to introduce themselves, because nobody you should be able to tell your story better than nobody tells your story better than yourself. So welcome to the studio again. Thanks for joining this conversation this afternoon. I have with me Seyi Akanbi.
All right, thank you everyone, and thank you Ola for having me and having us this afternoon. Yeah, my name is Seyi Akanbi. It's very hard for me to describe who I am, and when people ask me who are you, I always answer, which year are we talking about? Because my career has kind of like changed over the years. But right now, I'll say that I'm a tech entrepreneur and a social entrepreneur as well. I work in the educational technology sector, and maybe along the conversation, depending on the direction of the conversation, we will dive deeper into some of the things that we do. But currently, I'm working on tech products in the educational sectors to democratize their knowledge and to make sure that people have access to the information that can take them from one steps to another level of their endeavor. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you very much, Seyi, for joining us. We know you're a very busy man. You just flew into the country. We're really glad to you can take some time to have this conversation with us. Thank you for coming.
Yeah.
And Ms. Foye.
Okay, I'm Mofoyeke Omole Foye, and a management consultant and also a co-founder at Impact of Abuja. Thank you for having me.
Okay. Oh, you didn't talk about your work with women and gender and all of those things.
Okay, so just like Seyi here, I do a lot of things. I work around gender, the nexus between gender, technology, and employment.
Oh, good. Thank you very much for joining this conversation. I mean, there's no better time to have this conversation to just talk about how technology and education is coming together, two important tools to make change happen, to make development happen in our country and also in our world. So I will kickstart the conversation basically because I always like to just put some context with my guests or with people that come on the show to just think about what's the social impact story, because you could do a lot of things in this world, but when you choose to do certain things that is found at its very foundation, at its very core, is designed to make life easier for other people. You just want to exhaust yourself, put in so much work to make things right. So Seyi, I'd like to ask, what's your social impact story? Why are you doing what you're doing now? Why not something else?
I think I have a very interesting background. My story, I always try to be very careful so that I don't make people sad when I share my story. So I'm going to share the fun facts, as in the fun aspect of it. I believe in the power of tech because it has the power to change people and by extension to change the community. It happened in 2001. This is the beginning of my story. I just dropped out of Federal Polytechnic in 2001. Then I started working with a computer center as a cleaner, janitor, clean the floor, the tiles, fetch water for the Alista generator. So early in the morning, I will come early to learn computer, and in the evening, I will also teach myself the computer usage. They do computer training, but we couldn't afford it. It was 8,500 naira at that time. But along the line, I learned those skills, and because of that experience of 8 months in that place, the skills I gathered from that period changed my life, changed my story, and become something that has provided me with a lot of opportunity. That gives me the insight into if one encounter, one experience in a place can have this much effect on me and my journey, imagine how that can do to the society if it is skilled, where we provide opportunity for a lot of people to be skilled, to be trained, and to be empowered. With tech skill, it has the potential to change individuals' life and by extension to change our community and our society at large.
Absolutely, I do agree with you on that one because I believe very much. I'm sure for you also share that sentiment with me in terms of how the impact of technology and how technology is driving change, especially in the last couple of decades, and it's still making. It's like it's not stopping.
Yeah.
So I think the earlier you have exposure and some opportunity, the better it is to actually make the most of it. Madam Foye, what do you think?
Story. I think I'm going to say that my story is two-pronged. One from the home front and then one from the workplace. I would say that growing up amongst men, I was practically raised by men. I grew up in a household of men, and we were raised, us girls, we were the last set of children, by the way. So we were raised to be able to do everything a man can do. There was no, so there's no moment that you're able to come back to my dad to say that I can't do it because I'm a girl. It will send you back to go and do it because you are a girl and you can do what a man can do. So on that end, and that's why it feels like I work a lot with women, And then secondly, on the work front, I'm very, very particular about employment and much more so the disconnect between our education and the workplace. So coming from a background of chemistry, pure and applied chemistry, and then jumping right into management consulting, my first job was in the field of management consulting, and seeing myself rise from just being an executive assistant to deputy head academics within 5 years also made me see that irrespective of what you had studied in school, if you are able to build yourself as a person, there's no limit to where you can go, and there's no cap as to which industry you can work.
True.
So that is why my focus has always been to help people realize that if you do not have the opportunity to determine, to see into the future what you're going to be, and so you're not able to pick the right course from the get-go, you can just start from where you are. And so that's it.
Technology is important. We know that. There's no that it's kind of like come up in both of your responses. It will always come up because we know that the world is changing so fast. Technology is changing the way we think, the way we work, the way we live, the way we have everything. And in Nigeria, I'm just thinking about it that how do you think this thing is playing out? What do you think that how much are we really like catching up with the idea of how the power of technology, the potential and the opportunity that comes with technology, are we catching up as a country, or do you think that we're just there?
Oh well, I think that question is very loaded, and I don't know how much time we have, so I'm trying to be very brief. We had a workshop last Saturday, and in our hub, and there was a similar question about are we catching up or are we lagging behind? It depends on who you ask, and depends on where you are looking. For example, this is very similar to whether there's a rate in decline, there's a decline rate in quality of education, but it still depends on who you ask and where you're looking at. For example, previously, the number of tech entrepreneurs we have in Nigeria now cannot be compared to 10 years ago, when we thought education was better. So, and now we think education is not good, but we have more tech entrepreneurs that have been able to attract, millions of dollars into the country. So it depends on the metrics that you are using to measure the impact. So talking about catching up, and I can tell you categorically that there are people in the tech space in Nigeria that a lot of people in abroad cannot even understand what they know. There's so many people here in this country today that they are the best. For example, Microsoft, Google, Bill Gates Foundation is trying to invest a lot of millions in Africa now, and the people championing it are from Lagos. So, are we catching up? I think it depends on the angle through which we are looking at it.
I put some context into my question.
Okay.
In the sense that, yes, we know that, yes, some people are doing well. Is it because of necessity that they've just done, my idea would be like, they've done a lot of self-improvement.
Okay.
So there will always be people, because we have a huge population of young people. I'll come to that question again another time. But then, because this number is huge, there will be people that will just, out of sheer resilience, out of sheer need, they will improve themselves. But do we have a large mass?
Okay.
Whereby there's a systemic political or policy effort that's actually making us competitive in that direction, whether there's a lot of people like that, not just a few people.
Okay.
So in that context, what would you answer?
To answer the question, the people who've been able to, shoot out, I use the word loosely now, shoot out, come out of the fact that they are resilient, they are, they focus on their personal development. So in terms of the combined efforts from various stakeholders, I mean the government, the higher education, we are far behind. But we are working on it because there are new policy on AI adoption in Nigeria now that just been facilitated by the minister a couple of weeks ago. And they had this conference in France a couple of weeks ago. So they are trying, I mean the government, I'm not speaking on behalf of the government, I'm not talking, but at least they have something they're doing, but I just think that perhaps they are late. But it's better being late than never, at least.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you, I think they can do a whole lot more, because when you think about how the rate at which we have a very, or maybe I'll allow for you to actually chip in something before I say what I was
Okay.
Well, I'm going to, I like to play the devil's advocate.
Okay.
I'm going to approach it differently. Was this October now, the World Bank Annual Conference that I attended, and there was a whole conversation around AI, Africa, Nigeria was, on the spotlight. Not necessarily that we are doing something around technology, but the fact that they are bringing in solutions, to Nigeria. And I remember I did ask the question, so the global, the Western world, they are coming up with strategies to ensure that they bring in solutions to countries like Nigeria. But then they also want to put in place measures to ensure that those solutions meet the standard that they want, that they require out there. And I was asking, you are not making these investments just because you like us. You're making these investments, you want to standardize your requirements because you know that once the investments begin to yield, you are able to pull out our people, back to you, because you have invested in them. You're spending a whole lot of money. Microsoft was there, all of these giants, tech companies were there, and they were having this conversation. And this is what I would say. Are we lagging behind? Let's look at it two ways. Okay. As a people, as individuals, we're doing a lot. You see a whole lot of young people going into tech. Is the government doing something to retain that knowledge in country? I would say no. And so that's why I can say that we're lagging behind, right? Because you cannot, it's just like when you have it in the medical field. Over the years, we've had brain drain. That is exactly what is happening in tech industry now. A whole lot of people who are vast in technology in Nigeria are being pulled out of Nigeria. So, which means that because we're not investing so much as a country into technology, it's easy, to pull people out. So we will always lag behind unless we're able to do that.
I don't, so...
Sorry, if I can come in.
Please,
I think I have a very different point of view when it comes to this. We have to look at tech as a product. If tech is a product, regardless of what tech it is a product, you have the manufacturer, you have the consumers. Now, if we are still at the consumer level, the manufacturers will still determine the standard because we are just consuming whatever is being produced. So, and if we are producing and our consumer, the manufacturer will always like to get the best people to work in the factory, in quotes. So regardless of where that person is coming from, and it's still from is a business, right? They have to optimize their profits. They have to make sure that they sustain the industry. So if they are able to pull, there is this conversation we had in Washington, D.C. US has a strategy to pull certain percentage of talent from outside the world. Is part of their strategy.
But that's the only way they can sustain their leadership.
That's the only way they can sustain their leadership and their market dominance and everything. So now, the issue is that we're lacking behind. But the fact that they are able to come and get from us, it also shows that we have something. So that's why I don't normally accept.
But this is how I look at it.
Okay.
I mean, I think maybe it's a bit of both of your point of view, because I think that when that question comes to my mind all the time, where I always stand is that we are missing out on a unique opportunity.
Okay.
Which is basically to say that if you look at what happened with China, they understood a strategic positioning, and then they were able to until they had that leverage and everybody's coming to them. Because it's not because they like them. They don't have to like them because they have built something that they need. And then they can leverage that. Now if you go to China now, no matter by any standard, they are the most industrialized world. No matter what you think no matter
about
what,
it.
Everywhere you go, you can see the value and the way at which they have developed their like advanced society. By any way you can look at it. But then they've not always been like that. They made certain decisions as a nation that brought them to that. And that's what I think, like, are we looking at the transition and the tech-enabled digital innovation opportunity of the moment as our opportunity as a nation to fast-track our development? Well, it doesn't matter if our role is just to create, we are going to be the best place where if you need the top talent in the world, this is where you hire it. It's not a problem. Invest in there, create those infrastructure policy, put those investment there and make sure that we want to be supplying 15% of all the tech talent in the world, 20% of everything.
Like India.
Like India is doing right
that's
now.
their strategy.
They put their resources in there. They make sure that people, no matter where you go to, any country, any part of the country, everybody's learning something. And by the time they finish learning, they know so much that no matter where they go, they are top and they have what you need. And as long as you have what they need, you always be attractive. And that's what I think we're missing out as a country, that we're not being intentional, we're just responding. We're not taking advantage of this unique moment of the time where we have missed up from the being manufacturers in terms of hardware, hardcore manufacturing. There's nothing we can do. We can't match up with that. But we can be the ones that the human resource, because we have education, we have young population. All of these things can be harnessed in a way that we can, and that's where I'm thinking, are we doing enough?
Well, again, this boils down to the conversation that we had at our conference last Saturday. In the tech or advancement or what have you ecosystem, there are things that are outside the control of individuals, regardless of how you want to look at it. There are things you can't do yourself. You can't create obviously you can create a road that leads to your house in Nigeria, but typically you can't create a policy for the country except you are contracted to do that. But there are things that you can implement at the lower scale, at the micro level. Now, at the governance level, as in policy level, I don't think we are doing enough. So, and for us to be able to do that, we would need people who actually believe in the power of, technology advancement, and to be the one championing the direction of the country's economy. Then we still haven't fully understand or embrace the fact that whatever any industry can give you, tech can give you incredible in few years because of the rate advancement of technology. So we are still looking at it, we are still looking at technology as an enhancer, something that enhances what we do. We are not looking at technology as a product at itself. So when we begin to look at technology as a product, not something that will make our job easier. We are looking at it as the job.
As the job itself.
As the job itself. So our approach is because so many stakeholders will come. The issue is that you can use tech in education, you can use tech in art, you can use tech in church, you can use tech. So they were still looking at the tech that is being used to do something. They were not saying tech. So that's why when they are talking about all these international conferences that people, our government people go, the mindset is how to use tech for something, not how to actually make tech. So because of that, in my own opinion, I think a lot of people, making those policies and decisions, the mindset or the perspective they have towards tech is different from the current state of tech.
And I go with you, that's where the starting point of that mind shift in tech. And it's that mind shift that will lead to policy shift.
Yes.
To begin to think about it that way, and then it's easier to begin to advance political policy decisions that will be designed to favor that kind of mind paradigm. I agree.
Because there is, for example, we're starting, a school in Nigeria where we really want to be a very tech university, but the government position is you want to use tech to support learning.
Not tech as the education.
As education, not everything. So there are 4 layers of a digital transformation. So you start from the traditional. From the traditional, whatever traditional is traditional, then you go into optimization. You are just using tech to optimize what you're doing, what you're already doing.
Yeah.
So you go to acceleration, where you use tech to expand, to make it scaled. But now you go to full automation, where you automate everything
Tech becomes
a product.
But now what we are looking at here in our country is optimization level. So we are still focusing on the traditional, just looking at how tech can optimize the traditional. So we were focusing on acceleration to automation. They would not let us do that.
Because they don't have the understanding of how
Exactly.
that should be.
So they said that, okay, you still have, what you do is that you develop your PDF document and you upload it on your LMS as online learning.
When we actually learning, okay. That brings me to my next question.
Okay.
Actually, because I was going to just think about education in general.
Okay.
And how is technology being enabled or being used to, which is what you're already trying to delve into in terms of like, let's think about the biggest part of the, the level of a country's development is primarily determined by how well the educational system is being established and is doing. So how do you actually the role with your work at the university and also with other things that you're doing? What do you think that education can be transformed to begin to think, give us what you're talking about, to begin to change the mindset of students to just think about the regular curriculum or the regular way education is being delivered. To begin to look at the education to be the technology itself, the delivery of technology itself is actually the education, not a tool to use to educate people. Because
that's a very deep question. I think on a lighter mode, my mindset was to change the system, the mindset of a lot of people. But it's like the system is trying to change my mindset now. Because when you have to go through the regulatory environment to get the license and everything you need to operate, and the red tapes are there and the green tape, because we're in Nigeria, it's green. So, and without following the red and the green tape, you can't get the approval to do what you want to do. So it's now the reverse engineering. It's like, it's my mindset that is gradually. So, but the thing is, I have this belief, right? That for us to do something, we need to understand other people's perspective. We are going to look at it from two sides. Optimism without, we are just very optimistic. And we are not being pessimistic a little bit. That's naivety. Thinking that people will just embrace the tech, it will just move smoothly, everything. Then we are very naive. So we have to find a very right balance. Like we'll start with just meeting whatever standard they set. Once we meet the standards they set, we'll get the approval to do whatever you want to do, regardless of what you have in mind. Don't come with that's my own point of view, don't come with the mindset that you want to change the system. Come with the mindset that you want to understand the system and see how best to optimize whatever the system, has. By the time you have the opportunity, experiment with something different.
You pretty much answered my other question, because the other question I was going to ask is pretty about what opportunities exist within the education space to make that happen. So, and I think that's just one example.
For example, in our e-learning in Nigeria, our National University Commission, they said they have a policy document that I'm not sure if universities know about them. Like they call it guidelines on e-learning in Nigeria. So the guidelines speak a lot to what they want to see. There's a lot of what in there, very few how. So what we've been able to do is to demystify the what to now create how framework. That's what we've been teaching in our conferences, to make sure that, okay, this is what the policy that is in existence
but this is
says.
how you can achieve it.
This is how you can now take this policy and transform it into implementable practice here. So, and that has received a lot of acceptance in the higher education. We've trained a lot of lecturers to actually see so we are using it, now we have to train the lecturers. From lecturers, we have to create buy-in into educational leaders that the lecturer will be able to convince. And for example, one university in the East, I don't know if you can mention names, but now one of the people that attended our program is now discussing with the dean to help. So she attended the program, she's trained, she understands, she is able to convince the dean. Then they said the university as itself cannot fully embrace, but the faculty is willing to experiment. So because the conversation was easier because we premise everything on the guideline from NUC. So we are not saying we are bringing anything new.
We are just helping them achieve the goal. Because
the goal.
Yeah, and I think sometimes in most climates, it's just because the way things work generally in this country. That's the role of government. The role of government is just to set the goals. Tells you this is what we would like to see. And then they might go a step further to give you resources and tools on how. But most of the times you should be you are expected to just figure it out on your own, and then if you can share best practices within the but I think you're really doing a really brilliant work.
Absolutely. Because they said that the curriculum, the courses have to be mixed media, hypermedia. But how do you get mixed media, hypermedia? So very few people even understand what mixed media, hypermedia actually mean. So we have to demystify it, show examples, break it down, help them, then look at the low-hanging fruits. What are the easiest things for them to implement with to see how, because it is a chain, the students, the access to the internet. So there's so many, so yeah, are we where we're supposed to be? No. But
we're getting there.
We are moving.
Absolutely. If you have any, do you have any additional thoughts?
No additional thoughts.
Okay, I do agree. I think everything you said, Dr. Seyi. I realized I did not put Dr. in front of it.
Doctor is just.
I need to be, at least for the sake of our audience, to know that. So it's very important. Everything you've said is true because it's really important to think about it in that way, because if you're going to provide these educational services as an institution, you have to understand the policy angle and understand what's going to go there. Otherwise, you will not really be able to achieve the goal. And then you will not be able to. And so, a little bit different thing, a different question. I know that we were talking about how getting license is difficult in Nigeria. Getting anything done is a little bit difficult in Nigeria compared to other things for a variety of different reasons. And then, but you're still here. So my question is, why Nigeria? Why are you doing this here? Why are you? Because I know that you have options. You could have chosen not to.
I think the best way to answer this question for me is that you have to look at some factors. For example, I'm a full-blooded Niger, as in green, white, green. Green blood runs in my vein. Green blood runs in my vein, no single red. That is me. So, and that's number one. Then number two, I just believe that I can't take all my family members abroad. If everything is left to whatever it is now, my next generation will not have access to anything better if nobody creates something better. So I have to think about the next generation. What will they have access to? And not everybody will travel out. Everybody should have a taste of excellence, regardless of where they are. So if we can't take people to opportunities, we can bring opportunities to them. So that is my own.
So your drive is about, but what does that means in practice is that you're going to be doing 3, 4, 5 times, 10 times more work.
Exactly, because typically what will have ordinarily, you have to do a lot of more work to.
And how do you drive that passion? What's going to fuel that extra energy, extra reasoning, or extra?
Well, again, it boils down to the conversation we had earlier. For me, I have an interesting background. I come from a very poor home, extremely poor family, and I could see what access to education, is even accidental, but at least thank God, so has been able to help me to achieve, and the opportunity to actually look at other people who will have been in the same position I was. To give them something is what drives me. The opportunity that you'll be able to you know, when we do our programs, our conferences, people write, you know, all those things, it kind of like encourages.
So my question would be to think about entrepreneurship in Nigeria as a whole, because we know that it's a very tough business to do. What do you think are the top opportunities? I mean, I pray you should be you're welcome to also have to this conversation as well. Like, what are the top 3 opportunities that exist in Nigeria for entrepreneurship? Like, why do you think that despite all the negativities around us in this country, there is still some opportunities? And what do you think they are?
I think my own sentiments is this. I think probably I should have added this to the question you asked me the other time. Why Nigeria? My philosophy is that there are opportunities in chaos. Mm-hmm. And the people who succeed are the people who are able to see through the storm, to see where the opportunity is actually lying down. When storms come, there are some stones on the floor that don't get moved. Mm-hmm. So you have to be able to see through the wind and look at those things. So I still believe that there are a lot of opportunities in Nigeria. And there is a lot of opportunity in education, because we are certificate driven. Mm-hmm. And there is unemployment. Mm-hmm. If you can marry certificate and employability skill, it's a business by itself. Then if you can marry that with being able to scale that and something that you can train people, you can give them employability skills, and then you can connect them. Connection itself is a business. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So businesses exist around that space, a lot of them. That is, I would say that educational, fintech is good, but in my own opinion, it's saturated. Mm-hmm. Definitely. In my opinion, financial inclusion, it's good, but you can. If you are saying financial inclusion, you only save money that you have. Mm-hmm. If you are saying you want to make it easy for people to save, this is what you have. I mean, you can't save for the rainy day. Every day. Yeah. So I just believe that. But if you train people, give them employability skills that will fetch them money, then fintech can come into play. So the first thing is, how can people make money? Yes. And how can they export their talent? I think
make more money.
And make more money. So then eventually, if you can now connect them to outside world, which is also a big business.
So how can government help in all of this? What do you think there's a role for government, and or what type of role?
I'm very, very skeptical, very careful not to talk about.
But they always have a way to.
Yeah, but the thing is, yes, governments have roles to play, especially in policies and in frameworks, because most of the things that happen in a country is based on the governance framework that's been instituted for that particular industry. You know, because whatever you want to do, perhaps there's going to be a license to obtain before you'll be able to do that, or there should be something that is.
Honestly speaking, with Nigeria, I don't think that policies and frameworks are this is my personal opinion. Like I always tell people, look at what policies we have and start with the low-hanging fruit. Okay. We have policies, we have prohibitive policies, we have enabling policies. But in all of those policies that we already have existing, there are low-hanging fruits that we can start with. I think what we need to do, what the role of government for me would be implementation. Okay. We have these beautiful sets of policies, instruments, frameworks, both national and international frameworks that we have ratified. But the implementation of it is the problem. And so in implementation, say for example, we have AFTA. This is the African market, right? But Nigeria is not even participating in that economy substantively. Why? Because of standards. Do we have standardizing organizations? Yes, we do. Are they doing what they are supposed to do? I'm not going to say on camera that they are not doing it or they are doing it. But they are not doing it exactly because if it is an embarrassment that I would, take products out of the country and it will be returned back because it doesn't meet the standard of the country it's going to.
Why does it come in the first place?
Exactly. Whereas you go to the Ministry of Trade, there are requirements. There are things that you must meet before you can send that product out. So if you're sending the product out, is there an organization that is checking to see that this product you're sending out, meets the standard? Because we're losing money, we're not participating in the economy, we're losing money, and we're now still talking about policies again. I don't think we need policies. And with respect to opportunities in Nigeria, this is how I'm going to approach it. There's no industry in Nigeria that does not present its own unique opportunity.
Yeah.
Nigeria as a whole in itself is an opportunity. We have the people. Youth are like 50% of the population. So we have the human resources, we have the energy, we have the product, we have the intellect. So what are we doing wrong?
I think
I can quickly add something. Sorry for. In terms of the standard, I see opportunities in this. When there is after, and they are turning our product. To me, as an entrepreneur, that is a very good market for me to build my products to that standard, even if the government is not checking. Since I have the standard, why can't I just build my product to meet that standard? Because big market exists.
Yeah. And I think it's because, again, I think also like if you look about it, the reason why some of these policies and the framework are not working is because half of the time the process of making them is exclusive to the reality. They're not really fit for purpose.
Yeah.
I mean, you're thinking about something like you're doing waivers, you're doing things that are enabled. For example, I think automobile industry is a good example. You just come in and say, I'm going to triple tariffs on imported cars.
Yeah.
And you know clearly where you don't have steel, you don't have a to make local cars. Just because you can make an handful cars, just think that that's enough. Just because it feels nice for local production. But the honest truth is that it's dead on arrival. There's no mechanism you know that you can do that. But why can't you do something that is more practical, more reasonable, that you can create a win-by-win? Okay, we know that in 10 years we're going to do this, this, and this, so that by the time we're going to stop importation of cars, we will know that we have capacity to produce more cars and all that. And they won't do that. They just do a blanket thing, just create artificial scarcity. Just make.
Then there is one more thing that is very funny in Nigeria. For example, this is because I have some friends in the government, so I'm trying to be very, so that it doesn't look as if I have insiders and view. I'm using it to decide the book. I'll frame it this way. Let's say tech ecosystem generally is at level 10, right? Level 10. Let's just look at that as an analogy. And Nigeria is like not up to 1, or let's say that 1 or 2. Our policy will be looking at Nigeria as level 11.
Exactly.
Yeah, but the question again is...
So the issue is that they are not focusing on the reality that you have not even gotten to 4.
You want to prosper because you have.
So, for example, the framework on AI that we're talking about creating our own AI model and everything. Okay, you are creating our own AI model. Where is the data?
Exactly.
The data itself is not properly,
it doesn't even. It's not properly. It doesn't even exist.
There are some.
You have only 10% of the data you need to.
So now, if you are now building a model, or you've not even been able to have a good data structure that will enable the model to provide accurate
predictions.
As far as I'm concerned, most of these policies, again, like I said, there's no need to reinvent the wheels when it comes to policy, particularly in Nigeria. The questions we should begin to ask ourselves as actors in this field would be that, what is the process of coming up with these policies? Fine, every policy in Nigeria, you have about 5 years to review the policies, right? But now the question is, if you say a policy, we are number 1 right now, and the policy is addressing number 11, how do we address that gap? Like the people, the real actors in the industry, are they even engaging the government to see, okay, how do we, restructure this policy to be fit for purpose? That's number 1. Number 2, do they even involve them in the development of the policy? Last I checked, you can't come up with a policy without, inviting the stakeholders. But most of the time, policies in Nigeria are desk reviews. Like they just do desk review.
They copy and paste from the different
come up with something
and just localize and do all of those things.
So there's a lot to unpack around this.
That's just
there's
reality.
A lot to unpack around.
No, there will always be. There's definitely a lot of distraction there, and we know why that. We just continue to hope, because in any case, this is our country, and we have made a choice to be here, to build here, to create it, to support and to correct some of these anomalies as well. So on a final note, I think I'm just thinking about it, and I'm just going to think about the idea that in general, for both of you, really, what does impact mean? I mean, in your work, how do you look back and say, I've done my part, and I'm really glad I've done this and that, and I'm grateful and I'm fulfilled as a social entrepreneur, as an impact maker, and this is what I have done, and this is how I've supported the country and the humanity in my space in my lifetime.
That's very deep. I'll look at it from the micro level and to the macro level. And like, we are friends, me, I always say this, what does success, what will it look like? And then we work our way back. That's my own mantra. I focus more on the higher education. Okay. So, and we have a product we are building now. It is called a Knowledge Center, which is going to be intra-university OER on courses that is taking government-provided curriculum for Nigerian university. It has a lot of good what to do. So we are now building those courses as OER, Open Educational Resources, for Nigerian universities. So I see a future, and I think we can achieve this in 5 years, where all of our universities will be able to have courses, practical courses, especially in the tech space, that will supplement lecturers' work to make sure that students have access to the material that will make them excel.
That's really good. So in your mind, if you are able to do that, you will have been able to impact the overall quality of education. Because one of the biggest problems is
the resources. Exactly. Yes. So we want to bridge that gap to make sure that we build that ecosystem if you are in Nigeria. So these courses will be vetted, make sure that it meets the standard, they will be there, and it's OER. So any university can use them. We may not be able to force them to use them, we don't have that power, but it's going to be available.
At least at that level, that's enough. Even if you cannot even use them, the student can use them as a way to supplement their learning.
Exactly. So that's at the micro level, at least in 5 years. But at the macro level, I see a future where, as in when we are talking about universities in the whole world, we shouldn't be around 1,000. Like right now, that's...
They're not even around 3,
At least Nigeria should be able to call, let's say around 200, 300 in the whole world. At least. So that's what I see as the future.
Okay, that's actually very ambitious, and I think I agree with you. It's very doable. I think being able to help improve the quality of education, the quality of resources that we can use in an educational institution across board will be a good input. And thank you for putting the work in that direction.
Thank you. Yeah.
For you, what do you think?
Well, for us, or for me, impact is relatively just basic and simple. We want to see, young people get meaningfully employed. Like, we don't want to see PhD holders riding Okada. And we also want to get to that point. I would say that our work has been impactful when our results are able to shape policies and directions in government. That would be impact for me.
Thank you very much. That's very true, because I think that at the end of the day, the overall thing is about balancing the everyday. We know that the problem in Nigeria is so huge. I mean, even in the world, actually.
Yeah.
And I did remember reading something that says that it's not really so that you would think that solving a problem requires doing big things. No. Actually, you kind of doing small things on a daily basis, on an hourly basis, and then looking back 10 years after and seeing how much you've built from those little everyday effort. And I think that eventually, if you, me, every one of us here, and people like us that have the mind, I feel like we want to contribute to making this country better, making our society better, providing and supporting the acceleration of sustainable development goals, and making sure that things are, when we do this in our own little ways, our own little closet or institution or in a different way, the sum total of each of our efforts, it's what delivers the grand impact that we're looking for as a country or as a world in total. So it's really been a very interesting conversation. It's really been very wonderful afternoon sharing this insight, and thank you for bringing your insight and bringing your knowledge and being open to share your ideas and your opinion about it. So thank you for joining us on Impact Doc. This is Impact Doc Conversation, hosted at Impact Hub Abuja. Thank you for a wonderful afternoon, and thank you for watching.